English teachers, what topic on a write about anything essay made you lose hope in humanity? Well, it wasn't the topic itself, but a student literally cited The Onion as one of his main sources. That was enough to make me lose hope. Edit for clarification, since every other comment is asking this, no, they didn't do it as a joke, it was 100% unironic. They literally used The Onion to support their thesis claim and failed the assignment because it destroyed the entire paper's credibility and argument. I think they got a chance to rewrite though, the paper had lots of problems with it aside from the big fuck up anyway. Here's one I can actually answer. I was teaching an IELTS test prep class to high school aged students in China. One of my students is planning on being a nutritionist, and when I gave her a topic about what she would change if she could be the president for a day, she said that she would imprison everyone who was over a certain BMI until they were thin, and if they were repeat offenders they should spend life in prison for wasting public resources and making healthcare more expensive for everyone else. It was elementary level. A harmless "what did you do on the weekend?" thing to practice diary-style writing. The amount of casual child abuse they described was shocking. Edit, described. I get it. You're not perfect either. Edit to the edit, I spelled it wrong in the edit to point it out. Described. There, I did it correctly that time. Happy now? I teach literature at a college and mostly deal with freshmen and sophomores. For our free writing unit, one of the assignments asked the students to write any original story based on your favorite fictional genre. So, one of my students wanted to do horror. I said great. That's also a favorite of mine. Go nuts. Eventually, the assignments are turned in and I'm grading them at home. I get to the kid with the horror story and it's about a serial killer who stalks women. Okay, whatever. Nothing I haven't seen before. But then the story goes into long, excruciating detail about the next victim this killer plans on stalking/raping/murdering, a petite blonde in her early 30s who teaches English. And it just so happens I'm a petite blonde in her early 30s who, well yeah. I didn't report it or anything since it was a creative exercise. I didn't grade him unfairly, either. But I seriously couldn't look that kid in the eye ever again. English tutor here. I had a student in high school who was really struggling with the writing prompts I was giving him. He was studying hybrid genres in school, and how to write a hybrid genre short story. So I basically gave him a long list of genres, told him to pick any two he wanted and combine them to write a story. He didn't get it. He emailed me asking for clarification, like which topic do I choose here? And I told him he could be as creative as he liked. Pick horror and sci/fi, pick mystery and crime, pick romance and mystery, whatever strikes your fancy. I literally could not have given him an easier prompt. Then he asks me to give him some examples of hybrid genre stories, so he has an idea of what to write. So I emailed him a list of famous hybrid genre books, e.g. The Martian Chronicles by Ray Bradbury, Gun with occasional music by Jonathan Lethem, Harry Potter, etc. This kid basically latched onto Harry Potter and rewrote the sorting ceremony from Philosopher's Stone, word for word. There was no orientation, no info about his main characters, who were coincidentally also called Harry, Ron, and Hermione, no complication, no climax, no resolution. It was literally just an incomplete retelling of the Sorting Hat ceremony from the first book. Not only did this kid fail to think of a single creative story idea, he plagiarized one of the most famous books of all time and was daft enough to think I wouldn't notice. It really made me despair. When a 16-year-old male student wrote about the fine world of webcamming and how easy it is to make a lot of money off attention-hungry old people. Edit, okay, since I cannot answer all of you individually, I will try to answer the one main question I keep seeing: why did we report him / it is CP / he is a child? Unfortunately, The age of consent in a lot of places, including where this happened, is 16 years of age, which is why there was nothing we could do about what he wrote. Like I said in my comments, making accusations of a kid whoring himself out isn't what you want to do in this day and age. There would have been a major lawsuit by the parents. Edit 2, adding info. He wrote a general essay on the topic and was very careful not to use personal pronouns. As much as I wanted to report what he wrote, it was considered a general topic and we had no proof that he was involved in anything. As I wrote in my comments, when I tried bringing it up to the parents, I was told that he's a good boy who saves all his money from his part-time job. My girlfriend and her sister have some pretty daft assignments. The GF got asked to write a paper on any aspect of history, so just wrote about her life up until that point. Her sister got asked to do a presentation on evolution and did it on the 2001 film. Not an English teacher. Just a mother reading over her 10th grader son's essay 2 weeks ago. He had written something to the effect of, "Heaps of people have heaps of hobbies." So we had a conversation about using more academic language and employing a wider range of vocabulary. I come back 10 minutes later and he'd used the thesaurus function in Word, so it now read, "Piles of people have mounds of hobbies." Just wow. This guy wrote me a paper about how swamp ass ruined his marriage, describing it initially as an unexpected rash. He wrote at length about how this rash caused his wife to stop having sex with him and refuse him any intimacy. After some time, he and his wife got a divorce, and he promptly blames the rash for it. It isn't much later in the paper, at this point a good 6 pages long, that he details his struggles with proper hygiene due to cheap toilet paper causing this rash. So, because this guy couldn't wipe his ass properly, he lost his wife, his kids, and his sanity, to the point where he decided to come tell me about it. My second place is probably the guy who wrote about how he got AIDS. Edit, Jesus. My top rated comment is now about how one guy failed to wipe his ass to a clinical degree. My second highest is about how I passed on sex to go to the zoo. Reddit really is a roller coaster. I had a college buddy who graduated a couple years back take a writing class, in which they were allowed to write whatever fictional story they desired. For this assignment, he wanted an accredited professor to read erotica. He sat down and wrote 10 pages of porn, detailing the discovery of sex from the perspective of a young, thick, female. He got an A. Edit, wow, this is a crazy response. I've definitely never had anything like this on any of my comments before. I'll let my buddy know his story is famous. Thank you to whoever gave me Reddit silver. Now I just have to figure out what it does. We had to write short stories in high school English. My best friend was struggling for inspiration, so me, self-absorbed teenager, told her to write about me, when I'm a beautiful successful professional ballerina. She took the idea and ran with it, but took a dark turn, and had me raped backstage by the director of the ballet company. She showed it to me proudly before class, and when she saw my face as I read it, started backpedaling hard about how it definitely wasn't about me, she just got inspired. I assigned a write about anything poem assignment. They could choose any style of poetry based off of any of our mentor texts. They simply had to incorporate their interests or themselves into the poem style. One of my students, 11F, shared, for the very first time, her experience of being raped by her grandfather. I talked to the student, called the parents, the guidance counselor, Child Protective Services, and the police. The grandfather is in prison now. F bad people. Edit, thanks for silver, gold, and platinum, and thanks for the responses. This poem haunted me from the moment I read it. I was a student teacher when I gave and read this assignment, and I had a moment of wow, can I handle this? Thankfully, I came to the conclusion that I could handle this because I realized that any one of my potential future students might also need someone else to confide in and lean on in times of trouble. I'll always be there for my kids. Edit 2, thank you all for your overwhelming support and kind words. I appreciate all of the love shown here in this thread. Please, hug your children, tell them you love them, and remind them that there is no shame in being a victim. Their voice and their story matters. Please, please, please make yourself available to them. Let them know that they can share anything with you, no matter how scary or personal. Be their champions. 3. A classmate of mine had an assignment to pick a photo and write a creative story about it. He wrote 2. The first one was about the entire English class being stuck on an island and how they were going to survive by killing and eating each other. He made the people he hated in that class the sacrifices. The second one was about a world where gay people had taken over and were the majority and how he and the remaining straights were going to fight off the apocalypse. He had to read both to the class as punishment. He also almost got suspended. Yikes. The funniest part was that the school clearly states, no real names. So he took names like Martin Luther and made them, Larden Muther.